Relationship between Mexico and the United States is a complex and tangled one, spanning centuries of power struggles, territorial disputes, and cultural exchange. From the Spanish colonization to today's political climate, tensions between the two nations have persisted. But what lies ahead for the shared border, and what could the future hold for their intertwined destinies? Join us as we take a deep dive into the past, present, and potential future of this complicated and intriguing relationship. From trade imbalances to immigration debates, this is a story that demands to be heard. The relationship between Mexico and the United States began to take shape in the early 19th century as the United States began to expand its territory westward. The Louisiana Purchase of 1803 gave the United States control over a vast area of land that included much of present-day Texas, and the Mexican-American War of 1846 to 1848 resulted in the United States gaining control of much of what is now the southwestern United States. The Mexican-American War was a defining moment in the relationship between Mexico and the United States. The war was fought over issues of territory and sovereignty, and it resulted in the United States gaining control of much of northern Mexico. This period was marked by widespread violence, exploitation, and the forced displacement of millions of Mexicans from their land. The relationship between Mexico and the United States continued to be defined by issues of power, territory, and sovereignty in the years following the Mexican-American War. The United States continued to expand its territory and influence in the Americas, while Mexico struggled to assert its own independence and sovereignty in the face of external pressures. The relationship between the United States and Mexico has evolved significantly since the early 1900s. During this time period, the two nations have shared a complex and sometimes fraught history, marked by a series of ups and downs. In the early 1900s, the United States continued to exert significant influence over Mexico. This period was marked by a number of significant events, including the Mexican Revolution, which began in 1910 and lasted until 1920. The revolution marked a turning point in Mexican history, as the nation sought to assert its own identity and independence in the face of external pressures. Despite these efforts, the relationship between the two countries remained strained. During the 1920s and 1930s, the two nations were marked by a series of conflicts, including a dispute over oil resources and a period of widespread anti-Mexican sentiment in the United States. Their relationship continued to evolve in the post-World War II period. During this time, the two nations developed closer economic ties, with the United States becoming Mexico's largest trading partner. This period was marked by the signing of a number of key agreements, including the 1965 Bracero Program, which facilitated the migration of Mexican workers to the United States. Despite these closer economic ties, the relationship between the United States and Mexico remained complex and at times contentious. The 1980s and 1990s were marked by a number of significant events, including the passage of NAFTA, the North American Free Trade Agreement, in 1994. While NAFTA was intended to facilitate trade and economic growth between the United States, Mexico, and Canada, it was also criticized for its impact on Mexican workers and the environment. The relationship between these two countries has been complex, multifaceted, and often marked by tensions and conflicts. One of the most significant aspects of the relationship between the United States and Mexico is their cultural ties. The cultural exchange between these two countries has a long history that dates back to pre-Columbian times. In the early 2000s, cultural exchanges were marked by an increase in migration from Mexico to the United States, which led to a significant growth in the Mexican-American community. This increase in the Mexican-American population led to the integration of Mexican cultural elements into the American mainstream culture, which is evident in music, food, fashion, and language. However, the cultural exchange between the United States and Mexico has also been marked by tensions and conflicts. The issue of immigration, for instance, has been a contentious issue between these two countries, with the United States imposing tighter border control measures and cracking down on illegal immigration from Mexico. This has led to a perception among Mexicans that the United States is hostile towards Mexican immigrants and their culture. In the early 2000s, the two countries enjoyed a relatively stable political relationship, with Mexico's then President Vicente Fox being a strong ally of the United States. The geopolitical ties between the United States and Mexico have been marked by both cooperation and tensions. The relationship between the United States and Mexico is also critical, given the strategic importance of Mexico as a neighboring country and the United States' largest trading partner. The two countries share a 2,000-mile-long border, and Mexico plays a critical role in regional security and stability. Firstly, the country's strategic location makes it an ideal gateway to the rest of Latin America. Mexico has free trade agreements with over 50 countries, making it an attractive hub for companies looking to expand their business in the region. Secondly, Mexico has a large and young workforce. With a population of over 128 million people, many of whom are highly educated and skilled. This has made the country an attractive destination for companies looking for a cost-effective and skilled labor force. Finally, the Mexican government has implemented several measures aimed at improving the country's business environment, such as tax incentives, streamlined regulations, and the establishment of free trade zones. The trend of American companies expanding their operations in Mexico is one of the key developments in the relationship between the two countries. American companies are attracted to Mexico for a variety of reasons, including the country's large and young workforce, strategic location, and favorable business environment. Many American companies have established operations in Mexico to take advantage of the country's lower labor costs, which can help them remain competitive in the global market. Furthermore, American companies that have established operations in Mexico are also able to take advantage of the country's proximity to the United States. The two countries share a long border, and many American companies use their operations in Mexico to supply goods and services to their customers in the United States. This can help them reduce transportation costs and lead times, which can be a significant advantage in today's fast-paced business environment. Moreover, the expansion of American companies in Mexico has also created new opportunities for collaboration and partnership between the two countries. American companies that have established operations in Mexico often work closely with local businesses and suppliers, which can help to strengthen the economic ties between the two countries. Overall, the expansion of American companies in Mexico has the potential to be a win-win situation for both countries. It can help American companies remain competitive in the global market while also contributing to the economic development of Mexico. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to check out our other videos on related topics. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.